The Philippines President Duterte crooning for U.S. President Trump. Now, after the love song, what do two strong-armed leaders in their first ever meeting, well, what do they talk about?
It's very apparent that both of them have a person who they consider as not their best friend, Barack Obama.
Tonight, from the bully's pulpit of power, the issues that they would like to forget, the grudges that they can't. I'm Brent Goff in Berlin. This is The Day.
There was no mention of human rights. There was no mention of extralegal killings.
We want our partners in the region to be strong, independent, and satellites to no one.
Relationship appears to be very warm and very friendly.
We've had a great relationship. This has been very successful.
With President Duterte doing most of the explaining.
Also coming up, America's greenest governors on how to terminate any Trump threat to the Paris Climate Agreement.
We should take politics out of the whole thing and do what is right.
The fundamental message at Bonn that we have come to deliver is that Donald Trump cannot stop us. And this is the most important thing that we wanted the world to know and hear.
We begin the day in Asia with America first, everything else a distant second. U.S. President Donald Trump is wrapping up his first trip to Asia. It has been a marathon, 2 weeks of red carpets, state dinners, compliments aplenty, and criticisms few and far between. In China and the Philippines, the world saw a U.S. president respectful, perhaps even deferential, to men he considers to be his strong-arm equals. Yet the leader of the free world said nothing about human rights abuses in China or reports that Duterte's drug war has allowed police to kill thousands with impunity. Well, the big takeaway here, U.S. President Trump has told Asia America is open for business. We're closed if you have any complaints.
At a gathering swirling with controversy, a moment that revealed a feared president's softer side. Rodrigo Duterte pulled out all the stops at a gala to open the summit on Sunday.
I sang uninvited a duet with Ms. Pilita Corrales upon the orders of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States.
But some say Duterte is not the only one hitting the wrong notes. Ahead of the summit, Filipino rights groups urged Trump to confront Duterte over his war on drugs, a crackdown that's left thousands dead over the past year. But if there was any criticism from Trump, it was not on display in Manila. Trump showered his host, a self-proclaimed killer, with compliments.
And I want to thank you for your incredible hospitality and the show last night, the talent at that show, I assume mostly from the Philippines, was fantastic. Thank you.
The camaraderie did not go down well with everyone. Police used water cannon to scare off angry protesters.
We believe that the meeting will not bring any benefits for the Filipino people, but would rather worsen the human rights situation in the Philippines and drag the Philippines into various conflicts not of its interest in choosing.
The White House said the two men's meeting focused on trade and fighting the so-called Islamic State. It said human rights came up briefly during discussions on the Philippines' fight against illegal drugs.
Well, I'm joined now at the big table by Tyson Barker. He's director of the Aspen Institute here in Berlin. He also worked at the U.S. State Department. Tyson, it's good to have you back on the show. I'd like to start with the spokesperson for Mr. Duterte, what he said today about how both presidents were able to find something that they have in common. Take a listen.
The relationship appears to be very warm and very friendly. They've been very candid in their dealings, and it's very apparent that both of them have a person who they consider as not their best friend, they have similar feelings towards former US President Barack Obama.
So what is that? Is that the ghosts of Barack Obama in the heads of these two presidents? I mean, why is that even a subject of a meeting like this?
I mean, you know, I think that this is an artful way of saying that they have a lot of issues in common beyond just the antipathy to the previous president. They're both people who believe in strong executives that sometimes would like to take, in the case of Duterte, do take extrajudicial measures in the enforcement of law and order policies.
Illegal measures.
But that is something for the Filipino courts to work out, of course, but that has been a heavy criticism of the international human rights community and civil society in the Philippines. There is a sense that Trump wishes he had that kind of ability in the execution of his own counterterrorism and law enforcement policy at home. You know, he does feel a little bit constrained by these strong, independent institutions at home. And that's something that they're really kindred spirits on.
Do you think he looks at someone like Duterte or even the Chinese president with a little bit of envy?
I mean, I think that could be the case. You know, he clearly feels a level of personal comfort with these type of people. And the reason is because he brings into the presidency an experience from the private sector, his experience, where a kind of authoritarianism was not only accepted, but was kind of his means of management.
That's right.
And so he sees that in the public sphere, and he says, why can't I create that? He has, of course, this pesky, long-developed system of norms and independent institutions in the United States, first and foremost the Constitution, that does constrain that kind of action.
Staying kind of with the bully mentality for a moment, I want you to consider what Trump and the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, what they've been trading in the last couple of days. After the North Korean foreign ministry called Trump, and I'm quoting here, an old lunatic, the U.S. president hit back. And let's show you what he tweeted. He wrote, "Why would Kim Jong-un insult me by calling me old when I would never call him short and fat? Oh, well, I try so hard to be his friend, and maybe someday that will happen."
Well, the first thing I would say is clearly President Trump is taking advantage of the 280-character limit that he now has beyond the 140 characters. But, you know, talking about this kind of personal relationship, I'd like these authoritarians to be my friend. You know, this goes back to Vladimir Putin. He said something very similar. I mean, the truth is that these personal insults are kind of ephemera. I mean, it's rhetorical ephemera. The danger here is in the policy and the escalation. The good thing we see in the case of this visit is, although there have been maneuvers that have taken place by aircraft carriers in the region, they do have the support and full backing of U.S. allies, Japan, South Korea, and Australia. So that's a good sign. I think we should be careful to get too distracted by the name-calling.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's amazing in itself that there is this name-calling going on. But when we look at the entire trip, is there anything of substance that was achieved? I mean, can the president take something, you know, in his pocket back home and say, look, this is what I got?
Well, I mean, this is in his kind of style. He has said he will reveal the big prize once he returns. Now, we don't know what that big prize would be. There have been some cosmetic economic agreement deals signed, procurement deals in China. But the real takeaway from this trip, of course, is the recension of U.S. leadership, particularly in the Trans-Pacific Partnership. Those 11 countries are going to move forward without the United States. And then the role that China has played. You know, they have positioned themselves basically to be the guarantor of the liberal, and that means open market, you know, free trade order. They say, we believe in multilateralism, we believe in rule of law, and as the U.S. resents, we're going to take that place.
I mean, do you think that Trump has just left Asia and has left the message, America is where transactions are our business, your human rights abuses are not?
That's been a big part of his message just consistently for the past 10 months. I think everybody needs to recognize that democracy and values are de-emphasized in this administration to the favor of, you know, economic policy, good deals, and what he sees as U.S. security.
Tyson Barker with the Aspen Institute here in Berlin. Tyson, as always, thank you very much.
Thank you.